And the woman there. You on the right there, yes?
I'm really worried about this mantra, keep the economy strong, that the government uses, because we hear it continually. We've heard it about tax credit cuts, we've heard it about the health service, we hear it about education, and I feel it's a way of the government distancing itself from the consequences of the cuts that it's making and its policies. I mean, we've heard recently David Cameron himself wasn't fully aware or appreciative of the problems within his own locality, his own council, and what they were struggling with. And somehow you have got to understand what your policies are causing people to suffer in their lives today.
I understand what the lady's saying, and politicians don't say, keep the economy strong because they're just obsessed by the economy and that's it. If we don't have a strong economy, we don't have jobs for our young people, we don't have jobs for anyone, we don't have growth, we don't have opportunities, we won't be able to raise the taxes that are required to pay for the schools, to pay for the NHS, to pay for the defence of our country, to pay for welfare for vulnerable people. That all requires money. And that means a strong economy. That means you've got to be competitive. You've got to have low taxes. You've got to have low regulation. You've got to trade with the rest of the world. There's no way out of that. And countries that have tried it have ended up like Greece. And what do you think is happening with Greece's NHS equivalent?
You started to trickle down really well, doesn't it?
Man with the yellow handkerchief in his pocket there, you, sir.
Paul mentioned PFI. Does anyone know the cost of building the new Stoke Hospital? I'll tell you. £445 million. Under PFI, we've been charged £2.7 billion. All the PFI contracts, apart from one, were put in during the Labour administration. A total £11.8 billion cost of buildings, £79 billion to be paid back. Okay. Those contracts will be renegotiated, and there must be some obscure EU regulations could enable us to do it.
All right. And they were all laid back.
And the woman there who's waving her hand in the second row from the back. Yes, you.
So you say that you are going to start putting £8 billion into the NHS every year, which, as Lucy said, hasn't actually happened yet. But one of the big problems in the NHS is lack of staffing, and there are so many things you're doing at the moment that is going to decrease that staffing. You want to decrease immigration, which the NHS gets a lot of skilled workers from the EU to work in the NHS, and without them we wouldn't be able to be there. The junior doctor contracts are pushing junior doctors away. There's been a decrease in medical school applications this year and an increase in junior doctors wanting to work abroad. I'm a medical student, and I know I don't want to stay in England, like, if these plans go through. And
what did you say?
She's getting trained by us, by our taxes, and now she's saying she doesn't want to work in this.
All right,
I think you'll find she's probably in about £50,000 worth of debt when she finishes.
I'm going to move on. We've had a. I know you're right. We're obviously deep into the NHS and cuts, and somebody was talking about the state of the economy. So I just want to keep on that topic, but with a different question from Rachel Taylor, please. Rachel Taylor.
Can we really afford to send £500 million to help with the migration crisis when there are so many cutbacks happening here?
All right, we've been talking about the NHS, the cutbacks in the NHS and all the rest of it. Can we afford to send £500 million, which has been promised, to help with the migration crisis? Paul Nuttall.
Well, we should be helping with the migration crisis, and we should be sending money. I do hope that that cash, though, will come out of the £12 billion worth of foreign aid that we send out every single year.
Do you approve of the foreign aid that we send?
No, I don't. I think we're sending foreign aid to countries that don't actually need it. I would approve of foreign aid going to countries where there's been an Ebola crisis, or you've got starving children, or indeed there is the migration problem. So I would support that. What I don't support is foreign aid going to countries that are richer than ourselves. And I want you to consider that is £25 million every single day that leaves these shores. Do you know, last night 100,000 kids had to sleep in hostels and B&Bs. In the week of armistice, 8,000 ex-servicemen slept rough last night. Do you know what? That's your taxation. That should be spent here, in our country, on our people, on our transport network, on our schools and on the NHS.
Okay. Stig Abell. Do you want to come in on this? 'Cause I heard you say well said. Yeah, go on then, speak your mind.
I honestly believe that we are spending far too much on foreign aid. I do believe that we have to pay for the migrant crisis, especially the people coming from Syria, but we also have to realise the amount of pressure that it's putting on our country, on all public services, not just the health service. It's the policing, it's the benefits system, you name it, and it's putting pressure on by this vast amount of people coming into this country continuously.
I'll come to you in a second, Stig. Paris Lees.
If we got rid of Trident, we'd have £167 billion, which should be...
Yeah, and we'd be unsafe.
It would keep me...
It'd be like Ukraine.
Keep me in false eyelashes for a bit. Do I think that we're giving too much money? Listen, we're a really rich
It's in the light of the
country.
cutbacks here. We're talking about the...
Well, yeah, I know, but it's this idea, isn't it? You know that, like, there aren't enough council houses. You know, and that people shouldn't, people shouldn't be allowed to buy the council houses. I'm quite for that. We just need to build more council houses. It's not whether or not people. And the thing is, it's not a case of should we or shouldn't we give aid to other countries. Why don't you take it from the rich people? Why don't you take it from your friends? Or the people that are getting let off, getting taxed and everything. And I think that, actually, we have to remember that we're a really rich country. We're one of the richest countries in the world, and that's because for 250 years we went around the rest of the world, we took what we wanted, we split up their lands and everything. And it's true, this building is built on the profits of colonialism. So,
okay.
What we're going to say now? No, you can't have any back.
You in the middle there. You, sir.
In terms of foreign aid, we need to actually spend more. There's crises going on constantly around the world which aren't getting national attention in this country. There is plenty of money that, yes, OK, isn't going to where it probably should go. But then to say get rid of Trident is going to give us a massive national security error in this country, where we're going to lose people. We've got massive terrorist threats going on in this country, and you want to disrupt the one process that is keeping us safe? It's preposterous and stupid.
Okay.
How is it keeping us safe?
Stig
Nobody objects to the notion of foreign aid. We are a wealthy country. We have to have our responsibility as part of a globalised world to help people in need. No one in their right mind would ever question that. What they will question legitimately is how we've arrived at an arbitrary figure to pay out. Someone somewhere in Whitehall said it had to be 0.7%, so it has to be 12 billion. And do you know what that actually means? It means as you get near the end of your budget, you have to find things to spend money on. So you're not targeting the money where it's needed. You're not responding to crises. You're trying to make a balance sheet work. And that is an appalling way to deal with humanitarian issues around the world.
How should it be done, then? It should be, I mean, if you're sitting there as Chancellor of the Exchequer now, you have a commitment to the 0.7% because your party's agreed it and the voters have agreed it. If you don't have that, you're sitting there as Chancellor, you've got all the problems we know he's got on welfare, on national health, and 2 weeks from now he's got to announce his spending.
You should be expected to prioritise. You can even say we will have a maximum of 0.7%, but we will prioritise against that. And when we are facing crises around our own country, when people are at a sleeping rush, we may move that number. At the minute, it is a binding requirement, and you're binding yourself to an arbitrary figure. And if that meant 12 billion was spent beautifully, wisely, and it saved desperate people in the world, that would be a great thing. But what it actually means is accountants get at it and they say, at the end of this year, we make sure we spend it. So we spend it in quick fix things, because that's where the money can go.
Lucy Powell. Briefly, if you can.
Well, I mean, look, these issues are always very emotive. But look, what are the two main principles that should guide you about how you spend government money within the envelope that you have available to you? The first thing is whether it's the right thing to do for the country or not, whether it's the right thing to do. And the second thing is whether it, in the long run, helps you to save money and helps you to deal with other problems that may come up the track. So in the case of foreign aid, I think it meets both those requirements, because not only is it the right thing to do. But in the long run, it will help deal with people wanting to leave the country. No one wants to leave their home country without good reason. And for many of the people who are now travelling in terrible circumstances, you know, halfway around the world with their small children in really dangerous circumstances, they're doing so because they are living in fear of where they are living, and they are living in terrible war and terrible circumstances. So we should be... So we should be taking action as a country to try and help persuade those people and find the conditions to stay in their home countries or to settle themselves there. And
all right, Lucy, I'm going to have to stop because we're coming to the end, and I must bring Sajid Javid in on this key point. Hang on, everybody.
Look, we are a proud, responsible nation. We're the 5th largest economy in the world. We have a duty, I think, to help the most desperate people in the world. And the Syrian refugees, I think, they are exceptionally desperate right now, and it's absolutely right. We provide them with shelter, with food, with medicine, and it's also very practical, because if we don't help there, then this could be a problem on our doorstep, a much bigger issue. So it's both moral and it's practical.
And I'm sorry to say time's up.